Good morning.
How are you?
Fantastic, even though we're back to being cold weather again.
I talked
Got
to
my jacket
somebody.
on.
I talked to somebody up north that has snow on the ground. I was like, okay, that's perspective. I'm good.
That's true.
It's cold, but we're not like iced over or anything.
That is true.
Uh,
That is
do
true.
we
Sun is
think
out.
it's gonna stay cold? I think it's supposed to be cold all week. I don't know.
I for the week it will be, but you know what? That means it gets us energized because once weather changes again, it's like another feels like a season starting again. So I think
Absolutely.
ultimately becomes good.
All right, let's hit some numbers real quick and then dive into our conversation.
Awesome.
All right, Fulton County. Inventory went up a little bit this week, from 711 last week to 741. We got 119 that went under contract in the last 7 days. It's a little bit down from last week. Yet, if you
Mm-hmm.
look at the comparison of the number of properties that went under contract in January compared to the number of properties going under contract in February, that's quite a
Mm-hmm.
bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Pending's at 305. If I scroll, I don't know how far back we would have to go to even see a number with a three on it for number of houses pending. So that I think that is a really, really powerful spring market perspective of saying that market's really moving. This is Fulton County, and we had 163 closed in the last 7 days, 197 the week before. So I'm kind of trying to see if February is shaping up to be greater than January. Yet it doesn't look like it right now in Fulton County, but maybe there's a bunch set to close at the end of the month. Um, we'll take a look at it as the year or as the month transpires. As far as DeKalb County, if I can get my mouse to work here, 399 on the inventory, so it's pretty consistent. 79 active under contract, pretty consistent. Once again, these numbers in February are much greater than the numbers in January.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
182 pending. There was 194 last week. All right, Morgan,
I'm sorry, I didn't know that was you.
are
Sorry.
you going to start drawing pornographic images on my Zoom here?
I'm so sorry.
As long as it's you and not somebody else. Uh, it has been a while since that's happened to me. 182 on the pending, which is
Mm-hmm.
a really positive number. That's kind of the big story this week in the numbers is how many houses are under contract right now. 120 on the closings, which is a healthy number. So if I'm looking at
Yeah.
132 last week and 120 compared to January numbers,
Yeah.
we're much greater in DeKalb where it's a little, we don't know in Fulton yet. If I hit Cobb, our other big county, thinking.
And depends upon what school district. There's winter break that was going on a little last weekend this week. So, and President's Day weekend. So, yeah, I mean, there are people who are gone, if that matters or not. And I always look at that first week of January closings. Those are a lot of times holdovers that should have happened December. So if we looked middle of January, I think we're tracking a little ahead.
Yeah.
Um, so, or at
It's too
least,
early to tell, but it sure feels like the market is really climbing.
yes.
376 active inventory in Cobb, which is a jump. It had been floating lower than that. 79 active under contract. Same comment. Like these are much greater than the numbers in January. Pending's 195. So if you scroll back, that's a big number for number of properties under contract in Cobb County. 118 closed. If I'm trying to just compare here, too early to tell if February is going to be greater than January, but That's kind of the numbers. So what would I take from those numbers? What would you take, Kelly?
One, I'm like, yay, we're keeping our contracts together. We're going into from active under contract into pending status, which means we're more likely to close. So that to me is what's promising. The more inventory that does come out means there's more opportunity. So we should see that trickle to the next few weeks of pending. So whether February, I mean, we did have tour, a little bit, interest rates started going slightly up a tiniest bit, and then now they've moderated again. But I also feel like in conversations with my agents that their own clients are saying, hey, I am just now starting to look. So they came back from the holidays, they did their last refresh over Martin Luther King weekend. Now they're like, okay, let's get together. Let's start our first cycle of going out, taking a look at houses. So that kind of could be some of that, but that's where I see my personal opinion, like to every agent, front load this year, get your clients out early. And I think we'll see it. So
I definitely, Rick, would you add any context?
Just that expireds and withdrawals are really low. So that means there's positivity in what is on the market. And I like the pending ratios.
Yeah.
The only fair warning on the expireds and withdrawn is it's not uncommon to list after the new year and post holidays. And most people list for 90 days or more. So it's possible that we're just in a cycle where everyone's in list mode, but still it's positive feedback.
Absolutely. I think that the feeling out there, or we're starting to see it in the numbers, is that the market is really heating up, and you can see that people are making buying decisions right now and selling decisions. And so I guess the question is, you got to turn it internal. Are you in urgency with your pipeline? Are you in urgency with your sellers? Are you in urgency with your buyers? Because the market is saying that there are people with urgency that are going under contract right now at a greater rate. All right, real quick, we came in just barely under January from 23, only about 60 transactions down. Yet, let me just pull all FMLS. That the transactions were the lowest they've been since 2014 last year. So I always make the comment, like, if we're thinking about the bottom, we have certainly bounced off the bottom. The perspective is 2024 will be higher than 2023. The question is, will it be as high as 22? I don't think so. I think we're going to land in between 23 and 22, somewhere in that 80,000 transaction range. So you should hear that number of saying, let's say 85 houses transact in 2024. Can you go get your unfair share? Absolutely. It's not like it's falling off so low that you can't win. And it's not so great that everybody wins. What's happening is the skilled professionals are going to win this year. And that means you've got to be skilled and on your game. The other thing I wanted to show on here is inventory. So where's my chart? So we came in at 28 days on market in January. Actually, last year it was 30, but in December it was 23. So it's 28 days on market really much to scream about? No, I mean, it's less than a month. But January last year, we were at 30 days on market. And then the days on market goes into this valley as we climb our way to summer. So we expect days on market to go down, just like every other year, with the exception of the pandemic, that it peaks in January, February, and then goes down as we get into the summer months. So right now at 28 days on market, you're going to wake up 30 days from now, and it's probably going to be down in the 20 days on market, which means could be multiple offers on certain properties, could be things like that. So when I hear those numbers, if you're a listing agent, what do you think about?
I'd say a couple things. One, you always manage expectations with your seller on how long their home may sit before they receive an offer. You give them a realistic picture with the idea that you are pricing it correctly, position it in the market. So therefore you're better than average. But certainly on your price and on your days on the market. And then it is being as fluid as we can see it, that as a listing agent, it's that I would certainly tell every single person as days on market go out, you still don't want to overprice. You want to price it correctly, because it's still like we're seeing last year was at 11 days at the low point. That still takes you into almost 2 weekends. That being said, if you price it correctly, that means some sell less than 11 days. Some are selling more than 11 days. You want to be the one that sells less than that. Just knowing that you can't be mindful of pushing price too much in the hot peak
Yeah, and
selling summer season.
if you got a listing that's on the market more than a month, you probably miss the mark on pricing
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
And you can adjust, I still think what we have always learned that, and I think at one point it was 8, now you could even, 8 to 10 showings on a listing should bring you an offer. It seems to have been true almost every single selling cycle going forward, and but in this case, a low end 11 days, if you don't have that many showings in 11 days, you definitely missed.
Yep.
And there's a
Or-
really good
or-
statistic or slide in the Chuck Carr stats that we deliver to everyone that shows the impact of missing the market, either price, condition, or positioning. And so one of the narratives needs to be, okay, there are still more winners than losers, but the losers really get the penalty box and get hammered on, once you have to price reduce, what's the impact of that? And so that's an important slide, back to Kelly's point of, you want to set this expectations properly, but you also want them to know, hey, testing the market's never, I won't say never, it's not always a bad idea. You just don't want to test it beyond a few weeks, or you'll find yourself stigmatized, because the first question a buyer asks when they pull up to a house they like is, how long has it been on the market? And if it's more than the perceived time that better houses sell, the next question is, what's wrong with it? And instead of looking for positives, they're trying to dig for, where are the bodies and where are the problematic issues that caused it not to sell. It's a different psychology.
Absolutely. All right. Fun fact real quick. You may have heard me mention this before, but the population expectation in the next 26 years for Metro Atlanta is 8 million people. And a way you could think about that is the population of Denver, Colorado is going to move into Atlanta, Georgia in the next 26 years, which is an entire city of people.
Big city.
That is a really, really good fun fact to quote, but it's also a really good encouraging fact to know that we're sitting in a really awesome place to sell real estate. All right. This I found interesting. So
Rick, can I add something?
Yeah.
So, this is a chronic question. If I buy today,
Where?
what's the likelihood I do well? And if your conversation's around supply and demand, and you can illustrate evidence to show that we're growing by 70 or 80,000 people a year, it's inevitable that your house becomes more valuable over the long haul. And so you just want to eliminate the fear of a bad investment. And over time, everyone wins in real estate if you sell at the right time.
100%. And where are these people going to live, right?
When I read through that article, it's your further out counties, which has the dirt to keep on building. That's they expect the greatest population growth. Your good old Cherokees, your far out. Believe it or not, like the Dawsonville, like Dawson County, Forsyth County, your Paulding counties, Walton, which is a cool county on your way towards Athens. That's growing. So that they expect the most. It makes sense. They have the most land to build.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if we'll start to see more density within Metro Atlanta. So I'll say that one thing I felt like the Planning Commission's done well, probably like 10, 15 year, at least 15 years, is that they're starting to move. They've made our suburbs really cool. Like our downtown, and each suburb has like a cool little city centers, and they have businesses and even headquarters there. So if they continue smart growth, people can still live, work, and play within a nice suburb area And not everyone is having to commute far distances just to enjoy work, enjoy life, enjoy friendships, all the above. So,
Absolutely. I'll just point to that. It says they're projecting half of that population growth will land in Fulton, DeKalb, Clayton, Cobb, and Gwinnett. And then the other half are outside of that, which is what you're speaking to.
yeah.
This real quick, and I'm curious over the years. So this article is talking about investors are kind of out trying to grab cheaper homes. So, if you consider a house cheaper, quote unquote, you could label that affordable. But what the article quotes is that they bought 26% of those homes. So if I had a listing for under 300 or under 350, 1 out of 4 of my buyers is probably an investor. But I was thinking kind of behind this article, and what I used to quote or train investors on is back in the day, we used to look for investment buy and hold properties where the rent was 1% of the value. So if I bought a house for $3,000 or 300,000, I could lease it for 3,000 a month. Well, that gap got wider as price appreciation and cost of money grew. So if I bought a $300,000 house today, what would it lease for? Versus if I bought a $500,000 house, I would have hoped under that formula I could lease it for $5,000 a month. But my guess is a $500,000 house roundabout here might lease for $3,500 a month, which has a $1,500 a month gap, versus a $300,000 house leasing for $2,000 or $2,100 a month, which has a smaller gap. So therefore, the investors are more motivated to minimize that gap by buying more affordable property these days. And I think it's just something of interest if you work with a lot of investors or you are an investor. I think the cheaper real estate, which is not new information, but it's certainly just a repositioning of an older conversation. What do y'all think about?
And I would agree. Plus, a lot of these, if you want to say the cheaper homes, may need a little bit more work or pizzazz that an investor can create in it to get better rent and or it's harder for a traditional buyer to purchase. So, but I think you're spot on regarding rental rates and prices of houses. So
It's just not 1% anymore.
no, it hasn't been that for a long time.
No. All right. I want to spend a little time on this and then we'll talk about some controversial stuff. All right. So here's 6 scripts agents need for a time such as this. I was talking to Richard Davis and he's like, what should I be doing? And these are great little scripts if you want to implement these into your repertoire, if you will. But I guarantee you, every agent has buyers that have just fallen off over the last 6 to 9 months, whether they got scared around interest rates or they were motivated and lost motivation. So how do we re-engage those people? The script he suggests is this. It has been a little while. I hope you're doing well. Last time we spoke, you were planning to buy a home soon. Were you able to find that perfect place for you, or is that still in your plans? That's easy. And I think about it. Could I text that? Yes. Could I direct message that on social media? Yes. Could I pick up the phone and call somebody and engage in a conversation around that? Absolutely. That's the highest return on conversation, if you will. Yet, are you even doing that? Or are you out hunting for next? And have you forgotten about all the work you put in before that just went cold for a period of time? I think, especially spring market, especially right now, you could pick up a lot of business if you would go back to that lukewarm to cold list and re-engage it. And it's just an easy little script. Another script for homeowners in a social setting. We continue to see strong demand for homes in your neighborhood. I wouldn't be a very good real estate agent if I didn't at least ask, is there a scenario where you might consider selling your home in the next year or so? These are basic scripts, yet are they in your dialogue? I find most agents, when we're training agents, they get hung up on what to say.
Mhm.
So these are really good what to say scripts. The third one, which I think is a really good one, is this one, which says, here's a homeowner conversation closing script. It's been great talking to you. I'd be the worst real estate in the world if I didn't at least ask if there's a price where you might consider selling your home. Where I think this is magic, and Rick and Kelly, I want your opinion, is I believe everybody has that number in their head. Whether they're going to sell their house or not, they have a number in their head. And if you're the real estate consultant of choice, do you even know their number? And it opens up really big dialogue if you just ask people. Like if I said, Rick, I know you've got a townhome. Do you have a number in mind that you would consider selling that for? I know you have a number because we've actually talked about it, right?
Right. Well, there's not only not only a number, but there's also a feature, a benefit, or an experience in their next house that if you can get them thinking about what that looks like in a future-paced capacity, you might open up the psychology of what transition might inspire them. And price is a component, but it's also maybe another add-on question might be, and maybe it's coming up on the list, is, what would you change about your current home that if it were changed, you'd move tomorrow?
Perfect. I thought this was good too. It says, hey, this Brett Caldwell with Keller Williams, the house 4 doors down from yours just sold. And this sale will absolutely affect your home's value and other homes in your neighborhood. I've got my opinions on how it will be, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Give me a call and I'll give you the details of the sale. And again, I'd love to get your opinion on how this sale immediately affects the value of the homes in your neighborhood. Talk soon. I think it's a peak interest, engage in conversation. I don't feel like you're trying to sell me. I feel like you're trying to talk to me about the value of my asset. And in that conversation, it leads to potential listing strategies. But at the end of the day, if you're not saying these statements, what are you saying? Or are you saying anything? Are you in activity? How do we get you into activity? I think a lot of that is giving you things to say.
I love this. I'll say a couple of my scripts. Actually, I thought all of his scripts are fantastic. I love this voicemail one because everyone wants to be the first to know. Like you called me with a intel of what's happened down the street. I want to be one of the first to know before it hits an MLS. And I probably would call back or text back. If I didn't want to get on a phone call, I would say, text them saying, hey, got your call. What, tell me more, into the script just previous that we talked about regarding is there a price that you would want to list your home for? Brett, you speak a lot about, especially we're making this the year of the professional, but every year should be the year of professional, like being the true economist to our entire database. I should be putting in my command note said, so if Brett Caldwell wants to sell his current house at 2.2, I have a note there. I know doubts about it. I would say 2.5. Why don't we give you even more money, Brett? So
Keep going.
okay, 3 mil. But that being said, I can have notes with my other people in my database saying, hey, I'm looking for a Ashford Park home that's newer condition with the third level, all these beautiful things that I know your house would have. And I know their price point. I can start playing matchmaker. I can play matchmaker with my other fellow agents that I'm also staying in a relationship with. And I'm truly am being that consultant, that economist to my whole database. So when I see values hitting that mark, I can go, hey, Brett, I can't believe it. It's coming sooner than we thought. Your home probably is worth that. Is there is this something you'd be interested in? And then I'm always being proactive with my database. So I see this, what I love about his scripts, because we have our favorites of like who do you know is looking to buy or sell. What this does, it's giving them an opportunity, the way he's phrased it, for the person you're speaking with to explain themselves, to kind of let them do more talking, which is really good. And as agents, we're really bad at is letting the client talk. We're really good at doing all the talking, but the way that he wrote it is like, we say our lines, be quiet, let them do all the talking. And you'll hear more nuggets about what they're wanting in their real estate lives just from some of this then, you know, if we ask, who do you know looking to buy or sell the next 30 days or 90 days? So,
Perfect. So everybody should have a script that's their go-to at any point in the year. So that's the encouragement is one, are you calling first? But two, what are you saying? I want to hit this before we run out of time. So our promise on these industry updates is to bring good, bad, and ugly. And this one's an ugly. The Department of Justice, which the government, made a statement last week that said the proposed settlement in the antitrust lawsuit might itself violate federal law and said buyers should negotiate their buyer commission directly. So the Department of Justice is trying to decouple commissions. Is that going to happen? That's totally going to be left into the world of courts and all kinds of stuff. But here's why I think this is important. One, you should just be aware of what's going on. Two, it's the conversation around buyer agency and how you're conducting your business. So if the industry, which I don't believe it to happen anytime in the near future, but if the industry ever actually went to a place where seller pays listing agent, buyer pays buyer broker, how is your business going to conduct? And when we talk about upping your game around how you do a buyer consultation, how you have clarity around your value as a buyer broker, having conversations around commissions with buyers and not being scared to have that conversation, that is a best practice regardless of what happens in here. Yet, if this were to happen in the future, it would be paramount that that's how you operated your business. And does it scare me? No. But it scares me if the agents don't hear us and up their game in how they conduct their buyer agency relationships with their clients. So is it on our doorstep today? No. But when a government agency goes out and makes a crazy statement like this, it could create a little fear. But at the end of the day, we're professionals. We conduct ourselves professional. How you up your game around buyer agency is going to be everything in the future, regardless of how the commission lawsuits handle themselves. I'm telling you, we heard a presentation 2 weeks ago where a top agent is allowing sellers to list houses at 0% buyer agent commission. Is it the norm? No. Is it going to increase over time? Probably yes. Is it our market today? No. But if something like this comes down the pipe, we want to be front edge of it, and we want our agents to hear us and saying it's a moment in time to take your buyer agency game up 10 notches. Rick, Kelly, thoughts? I know we're out of time here,
You just
so
have to
quick.
validate. If you're going to, whatever you charge, and we live in a free market system today, and it's still subject to conversation and not dictated by the DOJ, but you better be able to validate whatever figure you put on paper, and it has to be data driven. This is why you would want to pay this, and this, it can't be the default. This is what the industry expects or demands, and that's been the narrative for a while, for many years.
100%. Kelly, you heard that
I agree.
presentation. Yeah.
I agree. It's data driven, not, oh, this is what we've always been doing. You know, I agree.
Perfect. All right, guys, raise the game. Love you. Oh, by the way, no industry update next week due to family reunion. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.